What's up, guys, and welcome to episode 36 of the Yard Podcast. I'm your host, Randy.
And I'm your host, Konu.
And we've got some updates for you guys, a little bit finally going on in the baseball world. So we want to jump right into that. First things first, as we have been updating you guys, the plan for Tommy Lasorda was to be out of the hospital before Christmas, but unfortunately that was not the case. He's been in the hospital for about 6 weeks now and was out of the ICU in early December when his condition was improving, but he is still remaining in the hospital to be monitored. They're not saying his condition got worse. It just unfortunately has not gotten any better for him to get home. So keeping Tommy in our thoughts. Hopefully he is home by the next time we have an update for you guys next week. Last week, Walker Buehler, congratulations to him. His college, Vanderbilt, put up a billboard congratulating him on winning the World Series and also mentioning his 2014 NCAA championship he won with them. This is actually the first time Vanderbilt has put up a billboard of a player that has been a part of a World Series championship. So this is big news. David Price also went to Vanderbilt. He did not have a billboard after. So I know there's other players who've been to Vanderbilt. I just know Price because he's with us and I know he's won a World Series, but they got this one up for Buehler in his hometown of Lexington, Kentucky on 606 South Broadway in Lexington for anyone who wants to see it. If you do check it out, take a picture. I don't know how many Dodger fans we got in Kentucky, but if you are out there, take a picture, tag us. It'd be cool to see it. Not so much Dodger news, but it does involve a Dodger player, so we are going to make sure you guys know. The Red Sox are reportedly showing interest in Kike. The move makes a lot of sense for them. They need a second baseman. They need a right-handed bat. They kind of need a right-handed outfielder for when Renfroe isn't playing, so the fit makes sense. He'd be back there with Verdugo, so he'd have a friend there. He played for Alex Cora because of Team Puerto Rico. I think we all know how we feel about Alex Cora. I don't know how Kike would feel playing for a coach like that, but we shall have to wait and see. So
Yeah, when I heard the news, I was a little surprised because I figured they need pitching more. But I was going to ask you because you watch more Red Sox games than I do, so I was like, actually, is it really a need? But clearly, it is a need somehow. So I mean,
yeah,
this makes a lot of sense for Kike then.
I mean, to give you an idea, their second baseman this year was Jose Peraza. So
He's good defensively.
yeah, he's all right defensively. I think they just want more. I think it's basically, which I will say, though, it does make me question if they sign someone like Kike because Jeter Downs does not have that much more time until he's ready to go. So I am curious about that. But
Kike can play everywhere, short, third, left, center, right.
Yeah, so I wouldn't. It makes sense. Kike wants to play every day, which just makes me feel like it's very unlikely he's heading back to LA for that exact reason. So right now, the Twins and the Red Sox are showing interest. Haven't heard about the Twins lately, but the Red Sox are in there talking to him. Now for the Dodgers, they have made some moves as of late. So if you want to catch everybody up on that.
Yeah, so the Dodgers signed Tommy Kahnle. He's going to miss his upcoming season, but he has signed a 2-year deal worth about $4.75 million. His first year, he's only set to make $750,000 while recovering from Tommy John surgery, and he'll make $3.45 million in 2022. He's a big strikeout pitcher. He strikes out 11 batters per 9 innings. He throws hard. His fastball will sit between 97 to 98 miles an hour. While he has a hard changeup that sits between 88 and 90, he gets a lot of movement on it, kind of like Devin Williams does. Obviously, not that much movement though. And so his changeup gets a lot of swings and misses on it. This signing lines up with a report I saw saying that the Dodgers want more pitchers who throw changeups. So this could turn out to be like a really great signing for the Dodgers. Hell, even Yankees fans were super sad about Kahnle leaving. So he had to be really good because they are brutal towards bad players.
Yeah, I'm excited for this move a lot. You made a very, very good point about the Yankees fans. They were very upset. So this was like a win-win. Sure, he may not pitch in 2021, but we got someone who looks pretty decent. Seems like he's got a great personality, a lot of fun. And to top it off, it pissed off Yankees fans. So really, it felt like a big win-win for me. I'm excited for him. I think he'll fit in perfectly. So I'm all for it. They also made a 3-team trade today. You do have an article up on this on Dodger Yard for those of you who want to check it out. He broke it down very quickly. So I know you know more about this guy, so I'm going to let you also inform everybody on him.
All right. So today the Dodgers made a trade for Garrett Cleavinger. This is a move where I think the Dodgers see upside in him. He had good strikeout numbers in the minors, but he also had really, really bad walk numbers. I think it was like 5 per 9 innings, which is obviously really bad. He's got a funky delivery, but it helps him with deception. So I think the Dodgers think maybe they can clean up his delivery a bit where there's still deception, but he can repeat his delivery a little bit better, thus helping his command. He's got a mid-90s fastball, and he's got a curve and slider. You did show me something about the slider earlier today, a graph saying how good it was in his 20 plus pitches in the major leagues this past season, but scouts don't like the slider. They think it's below average. But because of the deception, he gets swings and misses on it, and they think it could be a solid pitch moving forward. So there's upside for him to be, I would say, a solid mid relief, like maybe 6 inning guy. And I think that's what the Dodgers wanted to him, because they could have gotten just straight Alvarado, but Alvarado's also hurt a lot, so he probably wouldn't be out there as much as they'd like.
Yeah. So again, another move. I don't know if I'm reading too much. I'm probably not going to read much into this guy. He's young, may not end up on the big league team.
This was the counter to the Padres' big moves.
Yeah, you guys everyone wanted something. There you go. We got our big lefty. I think could he end up on the big league team? Absolutely. If he's good enough. I also don't think the Dodgers would have a problem throwing him in somewhere like AAA until he gets more time. So I know it's not the move everybody's waiting for, but again, this is what Friedman does. And at the end of the day, outside of like the Royals signing 3 or 4 players and the Padres making moves, and actually the White Sox too have made some, there aren't many teams out here making these big giant moves nonstop. So the Dodgers going slow is pretty much right on par with what I expected.
The biggest names are still out there pretty much.
Yeah.
Realmuto, Bauer.
Until those guys, especially Bauer and LeMahieu, I think until those two, and Springer, those 3, I think, until those 3 come off, and you could even add Realmuto, but until those guys start coming off the board, I don't think we'll see a lot, because there are a lot of teams that are interested in them. So a lot of teams are holding off on making bigger moves until they know what's going on. So I'm going to be patient. We did just win the World Series, so it's not like we need that much. Bullpen, right-handed bat / third base is the biggest thing. So we still got plenty of time to address those moves. But because we are talking about teams making moves, there's been a lot going down in San Diego. They've been extremely busy over the last 48 hours or so. On Sunday, they traded 4 prospects, Luis Patino, Francisco Mejia, Blake Hunt, and Cole Wilcox for Blake Snell. As of today, that trade is official. Snell will be under contract with the Padres through 2023, so we will see him for some time. However, never forget that Austin Barnes ended his time in Tampa Bay with a base hit in the World Series. So that is his last memory in Tampa Bay, is Mr. Austin Barnes ruining it. So let's hope we see a lot more of that in San Diego. They also reached an agreement with Ha-Sung Kim. He's a shortstop and third baseman from South Korea. We've talked about him a bit. You had written an article on whether or not the Dodgers should look into him, would kind of be of a risk. I didn't see it happening. He's ending up in San Diego. However, I did see a discussion on Twitter that is kind of interesting. The Padres have Machado and Tatis on the left side of the field. So my question is how much they paid Kim or what they did to get him to most likely move over to second base.
Yeah.
I did see something from Padres Twitter. I don't think it'll happen, but who knows? The dude is incredibly talented. A Padres fan suggested the idea of moving Tatis to left field and putting Kim at shortstop. However, Tatis is incredibly talented at shortstop, so I don't know if they would want to give up that arm at short.
So there was sorry to cut you off, but there was talk last year about getting Lindor and moving Tatis to center field. So I'm guessing they're just playing off of that because that's what the Padres were going to do, and think that he can just handle left field or wherever he is. Because, I mean, he is extremely talented, so maybe he can, maybe he can't. But they're not moving him off short for Kim. They would move him off short for Lindor, absolutely, though.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I know defensively, Tatis was, I want to say he was not very good in 2019, but in 2020, he made a huge jump defensively. So there is that. So we'll see what happens there. And also, this isn't official, but it's pretty much very close to happening. They're close to trading for Yu Darvish and Victor Caratini from the Cubs, according to some of the San Diego writers. Even Jeff Passan, I always get confused on which way to say his name. I think it's Passan. He has even come out and said that it's basically almost done. It's just not official, so everybody's being careful about it. However, the Padres would send Zach Davies and 4 prospects, Owen Casey, Reggie Preciado, Ismael Mena, and Yason Santana to Chicago. Good news is Zach Davies is out. He always seems to dominate the Dodgers very well and sucks against everyone else. Don't know why. There's just some pitchers like that. So all of this will affect the Dodgers. And I know you have some thoughts on this, so you can give your thoughts. Yeah. I know this isn't Dodger news, but at the end of the day, people keep telling me this isn't Dodger news. Anything that happens in the NL West is Dodger news, because every move that a team in the NL West is making is being made to try and beat us. So it's just as important to us if this is happening. So we're going to talk about it.
Yeah, it 100% affects the Dodgers. But so, like, we've kind of seen the Padres do this type of flurry of moves before. You know, they got Kemp, Upton, and I forgot there was somebody else. But this time I think they're getting players who aren't over the hill yet. So now, if the Dodgers had not won the World Series, I might be a little more worried or freaking out. But since they finally won, it's much more easier to just sit back and be like, all right, that's cool. I like it. These are good moves for the Padres. Like, it's fun. And this puts pressure on the Dodgers. Now, not pressure like they have to make a drastic move, but this is a move to keep them on their toes. Like, it lets the Dodgers know they can't get complacent. They have to continue to make moves to stay out ahead of the charging Padres. So, like, as far as the players go, like, we saw what Snell could do, especially in that World Series. But the one thing is he's never gone 8 innings. He's only gone 7 innings 13 times. So the question is, were the Rays being cautious because Snell has had elbow issues, much like Clevenger has? Or was he being pulled because of analytics? And I think that's like a fair question to ask, don't you?
Yeah, I think it is. I saw something that someone had pulled up his numbers. His ERA third time through was like an 8 or something insane. So I feel like we've seen the Padres, and they kind of did it with Clevenger. The Padres might make the mistake of throwing Snell out there longer than they should. They tried to push Clevenger through an elbow injury that they probably never should have tried pushing him through. So it really just depends. But it does give them depth. However, if it's only 5 or 6 innings, the Dodgers just have to battle and get him out of the game. Like I said earlier, Austin Barnes, all it took was that 1 base hit. Now, maybe, I think it's Tingler is their manager. Maybe he doesn't pull
Keeps him out there. Yeah,
maybe he doesn't pull as quickly as Cash. I doubt he would. It's a totally different organization, different scenario, but it is things to keep in mind. It is important. This does make them better. I would assume the Darvish thing completely pulls them out of Bauer talks. When they traded for Snell, everyone was saying, I don't think this takes them out of the Bauer talks, and that was a little wild to me. But you do have to think past 2021, that into 2022, where this rotation could be with Lamet, with Darvish, Clevenger will be back, with Snell, and most likely Mackenzie Gore up there by 2022, if not even sometime in 2021. So all of this stuff matters. It's going to make them a better team. At the end of the day, whether or not they perform, we will have to wait and see.
I wonder what that means for Paddock. Does he go to the bullpen or do they trade him?
Yeah, who knows? That whole thing has been a mess. All I know is the Dodgers broke him in 2019, and ever since he got destroyed at Dodger Stadium, I think it was the night he faced Kershaw, Padre fans were like, oh, he's going to come in and show up Kershaw. And I think the Dodgers scored 6 runs, and he has not been the same since. Prior to that, he had like a 2 ERA, and he has not been the same since that game.
I don't know what happened there, but like, so these are good moves. Darvish is 35, so he's a little on the older side, but he's been really good outside of 1 year where like his ERA plus was below 100. Everything else has been like 120 and above. So he's been a really good pitcher.
And he'll give them innings. He's going to give them innings is what he'll do.
He can easily go 7, even if he gives up 3 or 4 runs.
But that said,
he's very durable as well.
Yeah. With that said, there's a conversation that I keep seeing had on Twitter that I think will go perfect with our Make the Case segment this week. And everybody wants to know, with the Padres making moves, I guess not everybody wants to know. There's people saying that with the Padres making moves, Friedman needs to counter. Friedman doesn't need to counter. Dodgers need to sign Bauer. Dodgers need to sign a right-handed bat. Everybody has opinions because that's what we do as fans every time something happens. So for our Make the Case segment, we are going to discuss why the Dodgers should react to the Padres making a move and why they should not. So I'm going to let you take this first and kind of be devil's advocate and tell me why they should make the case for reacting to the Padres.
Yeah, this really wasn't easy because I think we're in agreement that they really shouldn't panic or make a panic move or counter like that. But so the Dodgers definitely need a right-handed bat and a bat that crushes left-handed pitching. And it's even more imperative now that they got Snell, because the Dodgers already struggle against lefties and Snell was downright unhittable in Game 6. So they need to counter with someone who can put up good at-bats against him. And finding right-handed bats who hit lefties well, it balances the lefty-heavy lineup, is what's going to be needed against the Padres because they suddenly have a deep rotation. So, like, the Padres were good last year. They were the 3rd best team in the National League. And it's hard to argue how they can't be 2nd. But the Braves are also really good as well. So it's going to be a dogfight. And they can and will give the Dodgers some issues moving on. So I did see a lot of people saying that the Dodgers have to counter with Trevor Bauer, but that makes no sense to me. How does countering Snell with Bauer help any? So I think the counter move they need to make is DJ LeMahieu. Now, it's only a small sample size, but LeMahieu has 6 hits and 14 at-bats against Snell. He's also walked 4 times. He's only struck out like once. So he puts up really good at-bats, and he gets lefties really well in his career. He's also a really good contact hitter, and I think that's the kind of hitter that you need for Snell because he's a big strikeout pitcher. So like the 4 best hitters against Snell with a minimum of 14 at-bats is Gary Sanchez at 1, Kevin Pillar somehow at 2, DJ LeMahieu is 3, and then Mookie Betts is 4. So getting DJ and then having the 2 hitters who notoriously hit Snell well seems like the best quote-unquote counter move for the Dodgers. Obviously, there's also Arenado, who has a career 996 OPS versus lefties, and Chris Bryant, who has a career 986 versus lefties. So the reason I chose DJ was that he rarely strikes out. And surprisingly enough, Arenado strikes out a lot less than I thought he did. He's got a really good strikeout percentage. However, he's very poor at walking. Chris Bryant, who's another option, is terrible. His strikeout percentage is higher than the league average, which is 21. His is 24. However, he walks a ton as well, and he's just like a really good hitter when he puts the ball in play. And when he's healthy, he's the best hitter of the 3 by a pretty nice sized gap. So those would be my options why they should counter the move.
And bringing up Bryant, I look at his stuff, the more I am intrigued by the idea of him, especially for 1 year. Clearly the Cubs are trying to get rid of some payroll. So I feel like the Dodgers could get him for a pretty decent pickup. He takes care of the right-handed bat. Like you said, he has the 986 OPS against lefties. For those of you who don't care for OPS, he does hit 301 versus lefties. So we know how badly the Dodgers need a left-handed bat. So Bryant could be a good counter there to help with that. And he obviously does know Darvish a bit, not from the pitching side, but just being on the same team with him. However, for my side of things, I do not think the Dodgers should or need to react to the Padres move. The Dodgers should never, ever, in any case or scenario, make a move because another team is. It's why they are the team that they are, is because Friedman does not panic. Friedman does not make moves because other teams make moves. When you see teams panic, trade, panic buy, they overspend for players. They trade away too much for too little. The value is all over the place. So if they were to panic buy and go sign, whether it's Bauer, LeMahieu, any of those guys to a contract, and it doesn't end up working out and it costs us someone like Seager or Bueller down the line, it is stuff that I keep in mind for scenarios like this. Because like you mentioned, if we're going to counter, I am not countering pitchers with another pitcher, because in my mind, that's not going to do us any good. If we are looking to counter the Padres, it needs to counter what they brought into their organization, which is pitching. So now the Dodgers need to figure out, if they want to counter, they need to figure out how to succeed against Snell and Darvish. But they just don't have to. And seeing everybody on social media say things like, oh, well, let's show little brother. Like, I get what you're saying, but at the end of the day, baseball is not a dick grabbing contest. It's not who has the biggest dick and can go look how much money I can pick up. It just doesn't really work that way. Because if it does, you kind of see what the Dodgers had with a lot of older players who they spent way too much money on in years past, not under Friedman, but under front offices. So I don't think the Dodgers should do anything. Don't panic. Don't overspend. Don't do anything because the Padres are doing something. They still need to make moves, but they need to make moves based on what's going to be best for our team and the fit and to win next year, and not panic because of the Padres, because I don't think there's any doubt who the better team is. We just have to make sure that we don't let things get carried away. Like you said, just don't get complacent. If they don't get complacent, the Padres are not the better team, even with the teams we have right now. But I do think the Dodgers need to make moves on their own just to bolster up the bullpen and get a good, solid right-handed bat in there. I just don't want to see anything happen because of the Padres.
If they make a move for a bullpen piece or a right-handed bat, because they've been talking about getting one since the beginning of the offseason, those to me aren't panic moves. Them going out and be like, oh my God, the Dodgers signed Trevor Bauer to a 3-year, $250 million deal. That's a panic move to me, because that makes no sense. Bauer helps you. No, I mean, he's going to help, obviously, but again, they need a bullpen piece. So that's more important. Like if they sign Hendricks, that's not a panic move, or if they sign LeMahieu or something, that's not a panic move. Because that's something that they need. They do not need Bauer. But speaking of Bauer, since I'm talking about starting pitching, on a side note, the Dodgers have been like linked to starters since last offseason with Garrett Cole, and then of course during the trade deadline there was Cleavinger and Lance Lynn, and now Bauer's name keeps popping up. So Bauer is like the obvious name for the Dodgers for them to make a move, but Friedman rarely does the obvious move. I think he looks for something that no one's really thought about. They don't need a starter, but let's say they are looking for one. I can see them going after someone like Luis Castillo. Now, it'll take quite a bit to get him from the Reds because he's not a free agent until 2024. But he's been a great pitcher for 3 of his 4 years. He's also been better than Bauer, if we're being honest. Now, Bauer's 2 great years were better than anything Castillo's done, but Castillo's 3 years as a whole have been Castillo's 4 years, as a whole have been better than Bauer's. So Castillo's definitely more consistent, and the Dodgers and Reds have linked up on a trade before. Now, I don't think this happens, but if they're looking for a starting pitcher, I would think the Dodgers do that more than they do Bauer.
Yeah, could Bauer happen? Absolutely. If they signed Bauer, I don't take it as like that would be Friedman freaking out. I definitely do not think that is the case at all. But yeah, I don't see Friedman freaking out. I don't see him reacting in that way. If he goes and signs Bauer, it's because that was in their plan the whole time. It was never because he's reacting to what the Padres are doing. And that's what I think the biggest thing is with Friedman is Friedman he's not like the fan base. The fan base, we all like to stress out, understandably so, but they don't do that over here. So I don't know. I see a lot of fans. I totally get where they're coming from. I get what they're saying, but at the end of the day, I think the Dodgers have to focus on themselves. And that's really all they can do. There is no reason to go after
And
what another team's doing.
I
They
think
have to
they
focus
are,
on them.
because again, they need a bullpen piece. I mean, this guy might not pitch in the bullpen, but they went and got a bullpen piece because that's what they need. So to me, that signaled that they don't really care what the Padres are doing. They're going to continue doing what they need to do, and that's a good sign, because there's nothing worse than a team panicking and then you end up like the Cubs, who traded away everything for 1 year of a World Series and then went downhill fast, or the Yankees, who do all these trades and then don't win anything. So um, it just it makes sense to just be patient and continue on the path you've been going on, and not freak out and just do stupid things just because someone in your division is doing something great.
Speaking of the Cubs, I will never stop laughing at the fact that everyone thought they were supposed to be a dynasty. They won the World Series in 2016 and have been basically irrelevant for the most part since, and waiting for cap space. It's incredible how much media and fan bases can hype something up.
I I mean, I wasn't calling them a dynasty, but I thought they'd be better longer than what they
Oh,
were.
so did I remember media coming out and going, "Oh, this Cubs dynasty is going to go out and win and win and win," and it was like they were fantastic. They were incredible in 2016. Don't get me wrong; they were a very good team, but after that, it
Then they
just
got
was
to the
not.
CS in 17, but Kike Hernandez kicked their ass.
Yeah, and we beat them. Yeah, it wasn't even much of a competition in 2017 either. It seemed so easy.
No.
Something I wanted to bring up: SD Dodger. His name's Tim. He's on Twitter. He's always coming up with good polls and stuff like that. So he basically put together a comp for Blake Snell based on the ratings of the Padres, what they had to give up, what the Dodgers would have to give up if they matched up the prospects about the same. So I'm curious. I already voted. I'll tell you my vote after. I'm curious what you have to say. He said an equivalent trade or so for Snell to the Dodgers is probably Gray, Ruiz, Cartaya, and Miller. Patino is rated higher than Gray, so I upgraded in other spots. Do you see the Dodgers making that trade for Snell? Yes or no?
Hell no.
Yeah,
Not a
that's what I
chance.
put. And 88% of Dodger fans said no. So I think we know
Not a
why.
chance in hell.
Yeah, I think we know why. I know, like myself included, I was somewhat interested by the Snell thing when they brought him up. I know other fans did.
But see, the Padres can
But for
do that because they have
that,
such a deep farm system,
yeah. Well,
and they're still ranked at the top, even with all
because
that.
they still need it. Like the Dodgers don't need Snell. So to give up that much for a position you don't need is a lot. Like the Padres need pitching. They've got the younger guys, but if their goal is to win in the next 2 or 3 years, they had to make a move like this. They could not just wait on Gore, Lamet, and Paddock to all kind of find their groove, and Patino. They had to do this.
Well,
So I don't know.
Lamet's
I just
good
thought it
now.
wasn't. Yeah, he just has his elbow issues. That if he can figure that out, if he's
The Padres
healthy,
and elbow issues.
yeah,
Lamet, Cleavinger, Snell.
yeah.
So there's a lot of upside for them, but if it goes wrong, it's gonna go bad really fast.
Yeah. If any of those guys get hurt at the same time, it could go downhill very quickly for them. So I don't know. I just thought that was an interesting comp. Again, I know a lot of people say, who cares? It's the Padres. It doesn't matter. In my opinion, it does. Not to mention, what do we really have to talk about? So it's
Right.
fun to discuss what's going on with other teams, because if the Padres are making moves, it shows that not just because they're the Padres, just they're a smaller market team. When smaller market teams are making this move, it shows that the world of baseball, first of all, these owners are all a bunch of liars. They've got the money. It can be done. It's just whether or not they want to. On the other
What the
side,
Cubs are doing, the Cubs have super big like fan base and media market, and they're still selling.
yeah. Well, and see, as a fan, this is enjoyable, but on the other side of things, I did see some media bring it up. Like, this is kind of bad for baseball in a sense that a team is willing to trade someone like Blake Snell, who, first of all,
Yeah.
doesn't really even cost that much. It's like 10 million a year. And look at what he just did for you guys, like in the World Series, and slowed down one of the best offenses in all of baseball. And a team is so easily willing to go, no, we made it to the World Series this year. They let Morton walk, so now he's gone. They've now traded Snell. Like, as a baseball fan, it's fun for the entire aspect of baseball. It's very bad that a team is willing to trade away top talent, just like it was that the Red Sox were willing to trade away Mookie Betts. I'm very happy they did, because he's now a Dodger. But at the end of the day, it's a little bit questionable that baseball is so happy with just throwing these players around. When you look at any other sport, they would do anything to keep elite talent where they're from.
The Rays and the Marlins are like the same. Like they get to the World Series and then start training everybody. But in the Marlins cases, they actually won the World Series, so that's good for them. The Rays haven't won any, but it's just so they get there with these small time players, even good players, but they don't make that much money, and then they just immediately trade them away to restock the farm system that doesn't really need restocking and just start over so they can cut money. It's not a good look. We know you have money. Stop lying to us. But for small market teams like those teams, sure, the business side, it makes some sense. But for the Cubs and Red Sox, fuck out of here. Knock it off.
Yeah. Your ownership has too much money. You have fan base who's constantly replenishing the system. Again, no part of me is upset at all because we've got Mookie Betts, but for the aspect from the game side of things, it is something that is very unfortunate that is happening in this sport.
And since the Cubs seem like they want to get rid of people, I will gladly take Chris Bryant. You didn't really get much for Yu Darvish, so I'll be nice and actually give you something for Chris Bryant. You can have Ruiz, maybe, and someone else, and we'll get it done. And let's move on. Since you clearly don't want him, or you're cutting money, whatever. If you can't pay him now, how are you going to pay him next year? Because he's a free agent.
What was that?
Pay him $30 million.
What did you send me last night about Cubs fans being upset? You sent me like a tweet or something from a reporter that said Cubs fans are going to be upset. So it makes me wonder if there's more discussion going on with players that they might be getting rid of, because they did get, I don't want to say they got like a decent return for Darvish. I don't know much about it, but they did get a handful of younger players. But
they were like 17, 18, so they're going to be a while before they
it's going to be a while. It's
make any noise.
Rebuild trade for sure. But yeah, no, it's
so
fun.
I did some research. It was from a Marlins guy, so I don't know how to take it with a grain of salt or not.
Oh, okay.
Apparently Craig Mish or something is like a Marlins writer.
Right. Yeah. So,
but he said it was going to be a long night for Cubs fans to get a cup of coffee or something like that, and I was just like, "Oh, I'm listening now." I don't think the Dodgers trade for Chris Bryant. I think he goes to the Nationals or something because they've been linked for the longest time. But it'd be nice.
Yeah, they could use it. Yeah, I wouldn't mind it. I think a lot of it. My guess is their first thing for third base is going to be try to see if something can work with Justin Turner. I do not think Andrew Friedman will overpay. I do not think he will keep him past what he thinks is a good idea to keep him. I think with the Dodgers winning their ring, they will feel more okay with allowing Turner to walk because they feel like, hey, he got his ring here. He made his mark. It's a little bit different when a player hasn't won a ring and they really want to win one within that city, whatever team. It's a lot easier for the teams to come to an agreement. Turner's won that ring. Turner might want to sign a contract that goes, I know where I'm going to be for the next 3 years. And the Dodgers might say that's not going to work for us and go elsewhere. So I think it's all going to
paying him when he's 39.
I think that's all very, very dependent on what happens with Turner. The fan base seems extremely split, which I'm actually surprised. I really did not think I would see nearly as many fans saying, let him walk as I have seen say that. So I think it goes both sides. I would let him walk unless he's signing a 1-year deal. And I only go 2 years if it's a club option for the second year, which there's no reason for him to do that. But I could be totally wrong. I do not see Turner coming back unless it is on a 1-year deal, which I do not see him signing. But I also just don't see the Dodgers keeping him longer than a year when they do have Cody Hosey, who's going to be ready at some point. I've looked at Turner's numbers, and I believe it was his OPS is declining every single year. So it really just depends on what they are looking for. I'm very into Chris Bryant at this moment and don't see why not make the trade. But of course, I'm speaking from a fan side of thing. But I mean, I would love if they traded for Chris Bryant. I think it'd be awesome to see him out there next to Seager. And they only have to worry about him for a year. They can let him walk and then they can pay Seager.
So here, my thing is, I think they'll end up bringing Justin Turner back. I don't want Justin Turner back. This is nothing against him. Maybe it is, but I mean, he's 36 and often injured. I'm okay. Like, we don't need to keep doing this of him missing chunk of games, 10 games here, 5 games here, 3 games here, and without a DH, he can't play anywhere. So, I mean, like if he's semi-hurt, then he can DH. He doesn't have to play third. But if there's no DH, then he's just going to sit out and miss even more games. I just don't like the sound of doing that. And if he wants a 3-year deal, if the Dodgers give him a 3-year deal, I'm gonna need to talk to Andrew Friedman, like personally.
I really am not a fan of the 3-year deal. I also don't see a 3-year deal happening.
I don't even want him back for 1 year though. That's just me though.
Because here's the thing. If the Dodgers were willing to give him a 3-year deal, I guarantee he'd be back already. There'd be no reason for this conversation to even be had. I don't think Turner wants to go anywhere. I don't think Turner even has ever seemed like a guy who is like, I want to just sign the biggest contract. He's never even come off like that type of player. So if the Dodgers were willing to give him a 3-year deal, I think this conversation would be over. I also think that if Turner didn't want to be in LA and was not willing to have a conversation of maybe signing a 1-year deal, we would also know that this conversation is over. So maybe they're trying to work on something. Maybe they're trying to hold out and hope MLB finally gets their shit together and will announce whether or not we have a DH in 2021. Because if we knew we were having a DH, maybe this conversation could be a little bit easier and we would know more so which direction. Because if we know we have a DH, you 100% can trade for Chris Bryant and still bring Turner back for a year and throw him in the DH spot. And then if Bryant needs a day off, you throw Turner in there twice a week, once a week, whatever the case may be. But until we actually know what's going on, it's very hard to even speculate as to which direction the Dodgers could go. Because if there's no DH, then they only need to sign a right-handed third baseman. If there is a DH, then they can trade for a third baseman and sign a right-handed bat because now you've got use for him. As of now, nobody knows what the hell's going on. So really, I would just like to know what's going on so then we can even just have our conversations and speculate. Because
I would like to know what's going on too. Because if there is a DH, then I would like to put all my eggs in the Marcell Ozuna basket.
That too, yeah. Ozuna is a name that I keep seeing brought up by Dodger fans, and I think you brought him up first when I first started because I was going through the top free agents and I was like, oh, Marcell Ozuna, and then I was like, oh, no use without a DH. I'm not even going to put much thought into him. If there is a DH, Marcell Ozuna would be very, very intriguing to me to pick up because I do not think after 2021 we will ever go back to seeing pitchers hit again once the new CBA rolls around. I just don't think it'll happen. I think players want to give players 15 more players a job every year. I don't see any way after 2021 the DH is no longer permanent, or I don't see it not being permanent after 2021. So I'm all for it. Give me the DH. I've hated it my entire life until this year. It was so much fun. It benefited the Dodgers. They were a top 10 team in every category when it came to their DH stats. And that was not even knowing they were going to have a DH ahead of the season. So they did not plan. They did not make any signings. That was just working with what they had. If they have the chance to prepare for that, their decisions probably change just like every other team in the NL. So I just need MLB and the owners to get their shit together and stop trying to bribe players with expanded playoffs and just give them the damn DH so we can figure out what's going on and have a baseball season without having to wait until weeks before knowing what's happening.
I really don't think we need the expanded playoffs. I mean, do we really want to watch the Dodgers play the Brewers again?
No. I also don't think
what the hell was fun in that.
I also don't think any team below 500 ever deserves to be in the playoffs. You don't even have a winning record. Why? At that point, if you don't have a winning record, they should have just gone, okay, sorry, Brewers, you don't make it. Dodgers, you get a bye. Like, I am not. Why are we playing below 500 teams?
I get it. It works in basketball. It's fun because sometimes those lower teams, even though they lose, they make it a fight. But I feel like in baseball, it's a little different. There might be those 3-game series. There might be a chance for a team like the Brewers to win if they get like some stellar performance from an unknown person, and then a good start from who's their best starter? I forgot his name. I want to say Lindblom, but that's definitely not it. Woodruff, something like that. They could possibly win, but it's still not likely, especially with Buehler and Kershaw going 1-2. So there's just it's not necessary. Now, if they were over 500, we could talk about it.
Yeah,
It might be a little bit better, but I think because it was such a short season, then it felt like if it was spread out over 162, someone in the Central would have had a better record than under 500. I would have to assume. I know they're bad, but because they're all bad, someone would step up some and at least be over 500.
I think it worked in a 60-game season, but yeah, in a 162 or even let's just say 130 for next year, because season might get pushed back a week, whether it's 130, 162 games, I think an expanded playoff might be a little much because by then, a lot of times you have really thinned out the pack by that point. 60 games into the season, it was hard to kind of thin out the pack because everybody was right there until the very end, for the most part, at least in the NL. So yeah, I don't know. I don't like expanded playoffs. I think it's pointless. We don't need that many.
It's just for money. I mean,
Yeah.
I get it, but
yeah,
the more games, the more money you make. But nobody wants to watch the Yankees play the Royals if they should so happen to get in. That's what makes no sense.
Yeah, the Brewers Dodgers series was not fun. I don't think most Dodger fans even really considered that the playoffs. I kind of just am like, okay, the playoffs started once we started playing the Padres.
It was just a thing that happened.
Yeah, like the playoffs were really like, oh, let's start talking about it once we started facing the Padres. Like the Brewers never should have even been there. There was no point for it. It was just MLB doing what they wanted to do.
Speaking of the Padres, that person you put up on Twitter, or that you quote tweeted on Twitter, whatever he was talking about for 2 minutes.
Oh, Zach.
I found hilarious. I
actually didn't even listen to what he was saying because I listened to his video, what he said when we played them in the playoffs. So I just knew whatever he was saying was going to be stupid. So I just
he was saying we were frauds, that the Padres are here. The Padres are going to kick the Dodgers' ass and show them that the Dodgers are frauds. The Dodgers World Series didn't count, even though the Padres were trying to win that same World Series. I found it hilarious because the Padres made all these moves. Now the fans think that they're going to easily beat the Dodgers, and they get everybody healthy back like Lamet, because they were missing their best two pitchers. But those pitchers are right-handed. The Dodgers handle right-handed pitchers very well. Also, there were plenty of Dodgers that underperformed and they still won the World Series. So I would hold off on that, because if Bellinger's Bellinger and Muncy's Muncy, there's not a chance in hell you beat the Dodgers. I'm sorry.
Not to mention the irony. The irony and the audacity to come out and say the World Series doesn't count when your whole fan base was out here spreading Corona for a damn wild card parade. Like, I don't even want to hear it. They were in the streets celebrating when they won the wild card series and beat the Cardinals. So yeah. Hearing them say the 60-game World Series doesn't count was what I expected every single fan base from whichever team did not win. But yet, when it was during the season, not one of those fans said that. It all meant they were all pissed off when Tatis wasn't in the MVP running, but the World Series doesn't count, but they want that MVP award for 60 games. So that's just how their fan base is. And I will say,
I love Tatis, but he shouldn't have been in the MVP running.
Yeah,
kind of faltered at the end.
Machado had better numbers overall anyways. But yeah, no, I'm all for it because I have fun with Padres Twitter every year. They're very easy to get under their skin. And I think Dodgers Twitter in general has been very good at doing that these last couple of years. So I think this will be fun. I think it's great. I just think it's funny that they seem to forget like how quickly the Dodgers just like ran right through them in the NLDS. That's great. You got Snell and you got Darvish, but you still couldn't hit our pitchers. So I don't
Tatis
see
and
where
Machado
that matters.
were absent, bro. So
yeah, so like you can add all the pitchers you want. That's fantastic. You still couldn't hit
Trent
us.
Grisham didn't do anything. Hosmer didn't do anything.
I'm not.
Who had hits that series? Cronenworth?
Yeah, they had a couple hits, but it wasn't anything like, yes, Tatis would have had a home run, but he didn't because Bellinger robbed it. So he would have had that, but they still got destroyed. They still got beat very easily. And And I'll give them their respect. They're a good team, and this is going to make them better. But until you're out there winning the division and you have a reason to be assholes and confident, I don't really want to hear it. People say the Dodger fans are cocky and assholes, and yes, for the most part we are. But we've also won the division 8 years in a row and have been to the World Series 3 times. Granted, we only won it once, but we're getting there.
Twice.
So
I'm counting.
Yeah,
I mean, we'll never have the hardware, but twice.
Yeah. So until you're at least winning the division, I don't want to hear anything about how you're going to beat us, you're going to knock us off, because you made the playoffs in the expanded season. Yes, they would have made the playoffs without an expanded season if the records held up the same. But let's also forget their entire pitching staff fell apart. And if you don't have a pitching staff for 162 games, you aren't going to make even the expanded playoffs. So I am all for giving them their respect. I know they're going to be better. I know they're going to make things tougher on the Dodgers, but I'm tired of hearing this whole we're going to walk all over you guys and step on the Dodgers and take over. Until you actually do that, I don't want to hear about it. That's how I feel about the whole thing. I'll give you your respect. You guys are good, but until you actually earn something and beat us for the division, I don't want to hear that you're taking this from us, because you're not, until you actually do. There's a reason why we've been doing it for so many years, and I do not expect that to end. I just expect it to be a little bit more difficult, but I don't expect that reign to end anytime soon.
And again, you better hope that these players continue to underperform, because if they perform to their capabilities, there's not a chance you can beat us.
They saw 1 year of Mookie Betts, and it wasn't even like a very good Mookie Betts kind of year. If you really look at his numbers, that was not your typical Mookie Betts have a fantastic year. Like, everyone was coming off a 60-game season. A lot of our guys underperformed. I don't expect guys like Muncy and Bellinger to show up again in 2021 and have those same seasons. Seager will probably find a way to be even better now that he's fully healthy. I expect Mookie to keep doing Mookie things. Our pitchers are going to get better. So I'm not worried. We've got the best team for a reason. So I'll let Padres enjoy their off-season parade. We have an actual World Series championship to celebrate. So
also, before we move on, I think it's funny how they say, or some of these Padres fans are saying, that they're going to get to the playoffs and walk all over the Dodgers. And I think it'd be hilarious if they played the Braves first and the Braves kicked their ass, because let's not forget the Braves. The Braves don't suck. They're getting Soroka back.
And they got Morton, right? That's who they picked up.
And they got Morton. The Braves, if the Braves bring back Ozuna, they're still a problem, and they could beat you just as easily as the Dodgers can beat you. So this is going to be a 3-team race, no doubt about it. All 3 teams are great, but yeah, like you said, pump the brakes, because you're worried about the Dodgers, but can you even beat the Braves?
Yeah, you gotta worry about everyone else before you worry about the best. Padres, you guys got a good team, and it's going to make things fun and competitive in the NL West, but you've got some time before you get on our level. And make sure somebody tells Manny Machado to pay up, because he lost his fucking bet and he owes his contract to a Dodger fan. So I just want to make sure everyone reminds him of that. I cannot wait until Dodger fans are allowed back at Dodger Stadium, sitting in Dugout Club, harassing Machado about that every single time he is in the batter's box. It's going to be fantastic. But since we have talked about them for a while, let's move on, because we actually did hang on to that for quite a bit, but it's fun. It's good. I'm glad to actually talk about actual baseball stuff and not just bullshitting over false scenarios. MLB news. The Tigers have signed Jose Urena to a 1-year, $3.25 million deal. He was non-tendered by the Marlins after this season. Josh Bell traded to the Nationals last week for 2 right-handed pitchers, and Will Crowe and Eddie Yean. And the Twins actually just signed Hansel Robles to a 1-year, $2 million deal today. So
that's a good move for the Twins.
Yeah, it is. We've seen a couple moves happening these last few days. It's nice to see other teams involved, and not just the White Sox, Royals, and Padres, kind of what it felt like for a solid week there. So it feels nice to see other teams doing it. Dodgers making the smaller moves. Big fan of the Kahnle signing. No, he won't be around till 2022, but who cares? We care about winning every year. So please stop being salty about them signing a pitcher that won't be ready for 2021. I wish he was
healthy this year, because him with Knebel at the back end of our bullpen would have been way too much fun to handle.
Yeah. He's we'll see. There's always a chance he's back in 2021 in like August, but I'm not getting my hopes up for it. I'd rather them not push it. Tommy John is a big surgery. So they'll do whatever's best. I'm not getting my hopes up, but I'm also don't find the point in chastising the Dodgers for signing a player who will not be ready for 2021. This is how it works. We want our team to win every year. We're not just focused on next year.
It's not like he's taking up $10 million either. It's $750 for this year. It's not that big of a deal, guys.
Yeah, it'll work out. Plus, just look at the guy. He looks like he's a ton of fun.
Yeah, that video you sent me, he definitely looked like he's gonna fit right in.
Yeah, he's gonna be perfect for LA. I would like to see though him and like Joe Kelly. I think Kelly's on his last year in 2021, but it would be interesting to see like him and Kelly kind of hang out a bit. They seem like they would get along pretty well. So we'll see what happens there. I had nothing else to go through today. Did you?
Yeah. So I saw something on Twitter, and like this person made a picture of like most home runs from a player from their birth state. So no surprise, California was first because of course Barry Bonds was born in California.
Yeah.
And then he had another picture where he combined all players born from the states to make up the total home runs. And California was first with 52,779 career home runs. The next closest was Florida with 14,000. So there was a huge gap there. And the Florida's leading home run hitter was my guy, Gary Sheffield. But it's crazy to think that California has had that much
talent.
California
produces, and that's the benefit. It's a benefit from what I've heard, but I've also heard it's a downfall of being a player in California, because California you get to play year round. However, I've heard when it comes to drafting pitchers from California is a little bit because they are playing year round. So yeah, California produces some pretty fantastic baseball players.
And you can get, I'm not exactly sure of the exact home runs, but between two players, between Bonds and McGuire, you get like 1,300 home runs just from them too.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
But yeah, no, they produce, I think it's like California, Texas, and Florida produce like the most big league teams, which makes sense. It's your more southern states. You're not dealing with snow, stuff like that. So they're playing out there the most. But that's really all we have for this week. We appreciate everyone who's listened. If you haven't, please make sure you subscribe, follow on Spotify, leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. It does mean the world to us. If you guys ever have anything you want us to talk about, just add us on Twitter. You can at us at the Dodger Yard account. You can at me at Randy_Radcliffe. We'll take any type of questions, stuff like that.
You can at me at Michael Konu, MYKALKONU.
Let us know if you guys got questions. We're always trying to figure out what to talk about in these episodes. We want to put out content every week because we know there's just not a lot going on, but we also don't want to bore you guys. So if you have anything you want to talk about, let us know. You can follow us on social at Dodger Yard on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. We're now on TikTok. Make sure you guys also, I just want to say this, the LA Dodger Dog, make sure you guys show him some support and love. He's doing a ton of those videos for us, providing you guys with a ton of info. So he puts a lot of work into that to help give you guys. Konu has his articles on Dodger Yard you could check out. So as always, we do appreciate you guys. And we hope you have a good rest of your morning, night, afternoon. We hope you have a great holidays. Have a safe New Year's Eve. And we will catch you guys next week. Bye, guys.
See you later, guys.